We want to welcome to the Robinson Show Lisa Ham. Hello, Lisa. How are you?
I'm great, Ed. Thank you for having me.
Okay, no problem. Thank you again for being on the program. So let's get right to it. You grew up in Roanoke, Virginia. So what was your upbringing like in Roanoke?
Okay. Roanoke is a very small metropolitan city that's located in western Virginia and is surrounded around the Blue Ridge Mountains. There's about 100,000 residents, and I was actually born and raised here. So I've stayed here all my life because it's a nice, quiet place to live and a great place to raise a family.
Great to hear. So let's stay in Roanoke for a moment. Now, while growing up there, were you involved in any recreation leagues or any type of organizations in terms of developing your athletic skills?
Yes, I was. I performed in track and field events starting in my 5th and 6th grade year at Fairview Elementary School. And keep in mind, this was back in the years when the elementary schools offered track and field, and then that kind of went away and some of the junior high and high school took it over. But I performed as a sprinter and a jumper, so I did the 100-yard dash is what they called it back then, the 440 relay, and the stand and broad jump. And I continued to perform in track events all through the last 2 years of elementary school at Fairview, performing in a lot of track meets in the local area, as well as when I got into middle school, I continued, but then I lost interest when I got into 7th grade and started doing other things as far as like ROTC, and I did play in the band. But track and field was something that helped me get my start in fitness.
Let's stay with your introduction to sports. You mentioned about doing track and field in elementary. Before your elementary years, how were you introduced to sports? Was it a family member, or was it just something that you were just born with athletic ability?
I think I was just born with it. Of course, my brother played football, but other than me going out for cheerleading when I was like getting ready to enter middle school, I went out for the local league, for the league that my brother played in, as well as I tried out when I was in junior high, and I didn't make those squads. But I think for me, the reason why I got interested in fitness and working out in particular is because growing up I was a very stickly or skinny kid in my teenage years, very small upper bodies, skinny arms. My legs were pretty developed from my track years, but arms and upper body were pretty skinny and stickly. So I wanted to have a way to build those. Plus just overall health. I have a lot of things running in my family such as high blood pressure and diabetes. So I just wanted a way to ward off those ailments and stay healthy and stay active and fit. So after high school, I decided I wanted to remain in shape and fit, and I joined a gym, began doing some basic weight training along with cardio and taking some aerobics classes like step aerobics. And that helped me to start building my confidence and building my physique so I didn't have that stickly look. So I remained lean, I remained fit, but I really got enjoyment out of working out, and I continued doing it regularly. So it's something that just instilled in me, and I've just always done it. I have been told, too, that I have the genetics that when I started working out, the muscle easily came on.
So now that's going to go into our the next question I want to ask you. You mentioned that you started working out to change your shape, and you noticed the results that you got, and you wound up getting into a sport called bodybuilding. How did you get involved in bodybuilding?
It's something that initially wasn't on my radar because, again, I was just working out to build a little shape so I wouldn't look so skinny. And I was really more into aerobics classes but delved a little bit into the weights. But I got involved with bodybuilding because my ex-husband was competing in local competitions, and I would attend the shows to cheer him on. And in being in the audience and doing so, I would always get approached by people who would look at my build and told me that I should consider competing in women's bodybuilding because I had the athletic frame. I was already pretty muscular in the lower body for my track days, and I stayed relatively lean all my life, and then now had the extra added muscle onto my upper body from weight training. So initially, I wasn't interested in competing. I loved going to the shows, to watch him and everybody else. But the main reason that I didn't think I'd be able to do it is because I saw the diet that he had to do, and it was not easy, having to deprive yourself of things that you like and having to eat the same meals every day and prep the food and all of that. Also, at that time, I was in my early 30s, and so in my mind, I thought I'm too old to even begin thinking about competing. But what I quickly found out in going to more of the competitions, I saw women on stage that were my age and some even older. So I looked at them and I said, hey, if they can do it, so can I. And so I decided to give it a try. So I began training for my first bodybuilding show in 2001 when I was 34 years old. My children were older, so they weren't relying on me. They were in their teens by this time. And so I trained roughly for 6 months for the show and hit the stage the next year when I was 35. And my first competition that I did was with the NGA, and that's Natural Organization, and I won my novice class. So it was basically that's a beginner's class in bodybuilding. So after that, I was hooked, and I did 2 more shows that same year, and I've not looked back ever since.
Awesome to hear. So let's stay with the sport of bodybuilding. Now, what weight class do you compete in?
I usually compete as a middleweight, which is usually the weight range of 130 to 132. Usually in off season, I stay around 150, so I can drop as much as 20 to sometimes as much as 25 pounds. But yeah, I'm a middleweight.
Okay, awesome. Now, in your career, how many titles have you won?
Wow, I tell you, I've counted up my trophies, and I actually have just shy of 50 trophies during my years of competing, and they vary from first place awards to fifth place awards. In 2013, I actually placed first in women's masters class and second in the women's open bodybuilding class. And that same year, I placed second in the NPC Blue Ridge Classic, which ironically was held in Roanoke, my hometown. But prior to those years, I did win overalls in 2 competitions, and that's basically not only winning my class, but then going up against the other class winners to win the overall show. So in 2012, I won my first place in women's bodybuilding in the Linda Murray Classic in Norfolk, and then went on to win the overall award, and actually came away from that particular show with 5 trophies. And I'll just tell you, that's a show that I did 3 times in order to just win the overall, because Linda Murray being, a Miss Olympia, I admired her throughout my career and, inspired to be like her, so to be able to compete in her show and win the overall meant a lot to me. And then the other competitions that I did that year, I won the overall in the 2011 NPC Muscle Heat, which was held in Greensboro, North Carolina. But I have traveled, too, with my bodybuilding career. I've gone as far as to Chicago and Florida and Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and then locally in Virginia as well. And I've done both national level shows and amateur level shows.
It's always a struggle, and it takes a while to earn a pro card. So I want to know, have you received your pro card?
In 2008, I won my pro card with a natural or drug-tested organization, and that was when I competed with the NGA, which is National Gym Association. That was a show that, again, was held locally in Roanoke, and I actually won the overall and was able to win my pro card with that. And I started my bodybuilding career with the NGA. After winning that pro card, I did go on to compete in a pro show in Georgia, and actually that was a show that, I got first place and I got paid for winning that. But as far as like winning an IFBB pro card, I have not achieved that. And for me, it's never been about winning a pro card. That wasn't always my main focus at all. I'm competitive and I love the sport, plus I always had the feeling of accomplishment anytime I hit the stage. So it's never really been about placing for me. I just want to be able to go out there, show up, and do well. I feel like after all of the months and weeks of prep, I'm already a winner no matter where my placing is. And for me, it's just about overall feeling good about myself, being healthy and fit.
Now, the bodybuilding has had a lot of dark clouds over it in the sport, and, steroids is one of the things that really has this dark cloud over the sport. I just want to know, are you natural or have you used performance-enhancing drugs?
No, I'm a natural bodybuilder now. I've competed, though, in competitions that are both non-tested as well as tested, but I've never used any steroids because I've always been concerned about how it would affect my overall health. And although I know competing as a natural competitor against those who may be using steroids is a disadvantage, but I've never let that stop me from competing on the stage against them. I just feel like, for me personally, it's not worth it to risk my health to take the steroids. I just want to be able to compete because I enjoy it and because of the competitiveness of it. I don't want to do anything that's going to hurt or damage my health. I saw this as a way of staying healthy and staying fit. So, nothing against, anyone who may be doing that. Everyone has a different goal and a different purpose, but for me personally, it's just something that I've never considered. I started competing in bodybuilding in 2002, primarily competing in drug-tested shows with organizations such as the NGA, the INBF, OCB, and then a few years later, I felt more comfortable, and based on building muscle over the years, I felt comfortable enough then to switch over to non-tested shows and begin competing in the NPC. And I've actually placed pretty well in a lot of those shows and been able to qualify to even compete in the NPC national level shows. So I've competed in 3 of those over the years, and that would be the Junior Nationals in Chicago and twice at the Junior USAs in Charleston, South Carolina. So it's an industry where you do have your options, and I like that, and I like being able to have the option to compete in either one. But primarily I have been staying now with NPC, not only as a competitor, but I also am a NPC judge. So I do have an alliance with them, but the other organizations out there, I've actually been to some of those shows and have helped competitors compete in some of those shows as well. There's a platform for everybody, and I do like that.
Absolutely. And getting ready for a competition, what does your training consist of?
I usually start anywhere from 20 weeks out. Sometimes I go even more like 30 weeks out prepping for a show. I'm usually in the gym 7 days a week, and sometimes as much as 2 to 3 times a day, and that's because of my work schedule. So I find a way to juggle it and make it work no matter what. So usually what that day consists of is I get up in the morning and I'll do 30 minutes to 45 minutes of what we call fasted cardio or a cardio session before eating. Then I'll go to work. I usually weight train in the middle of the day. I'll do my weight training midday, get off work, go back, and do another session of cardio. So those are the days when I have to split it up and do a 3 a day. As far as like the training split, I usually weight train 5 to 6 days a week, hitting different muscle group or specific muscle group a day. So for instance, it may be legs that I'm training on Monday and shoulders on Tuesday, back on Wednesday, that type of routine. But I'm hitting cardio pretty much every day, 7 days a week. And the amount of time that I have to do that is just really kind of based off of how my physique is looking. So it is a grueling process. It's something, though, that I feel is well worth it to get through that prep and make it to the stage. Because, again, once you hit the stage, no matter where you're placed, you're already a winner if you've been able to get through that prep and been successful to make it to the stage.
Speaking of something that's grueling, bodybuilders always struggle with the diet part, and they want to eat foods, and they have the temptation to kind of fall off the wagon. But I want to know, what food do you eat to get ready for a competition?
On a regular basis, I do take in quite a bit of protein, a lot of veggies, and a lot of water. In my earlier years of competing, I ate a lot of chicken and a lot of turkey and even some steak and red meat. I did not like fish and did not like egg whites and a lot of other foods when I first began bodybuilding, but over the years I learned to acquire taste for those things and eat them on a regular now. So although in the beginning I didn't like fish and I didn't like egg whites, they're now a main staple for me as a protein source in my diet, because last year I actually converted over to being a pescatarian. So it's a vegetarian that basically eats fish, but I very rarely eat any chicken or beef now. For my carbs, I try to stick with oatmeal and grits, white rice, sweet potatoes, rice cakes, Ezekiel bread. I eat a lot of vegetables consisting mostly of like broccoli, green beans, spinach, and asparagus. Don't do very much in fruits because fruits carry a lot of sugar, but I occasionally will do grapefruit or berries. And during prep, I stay away from sweets. So no sweets during prep for a show. That's something I save as a treat for after the show. And then water intake, I usually drink at least a minimum of 1 gallon, but I can go to as much as 2 gallons a day when I'm prepping for a show, just to get rid of the excess water that the physique may be holding.
Okay, now, what are your favorite cheat foods?
I love pizza, hamburgers, sweet potato fries are one of my favorites. As far as desserts, I love brownies, and I love cupcakes. Oh, and anything with peanut butter. I'm a big peanut butter fan. So anything with peanut butter.
Okay. Okay, awesome. So now you're also, we go from your competitive side now to something else that you do, and that's personal training. How did you get involved in personal training?
I took up the interest in personal training because I just mainly wanted to help others who wanted to get healthier and lose weight, or those who even wanted to compete. I had so many people when I decided to compete that helped me along the way, that either coached me or gave me tips or whatever, that I wanted to do the same for others. So in 2004, I began studying to become a personal trainer, and I took the training courses offered by the NGA since I was actively competing with that organization. But I also have had training certifications through ISSA and the IFAS, which is a personal training certification program offered by Lee Haney. So soon after becoming certified, I began coaching clients for competitions and then later worked in a few small gyms training clients one-on-one. And I've actually worked with athletes such as marathoners, cyclists, and even a gymnast. So in 2009, we actually had a Gold's Gym to open up, and it was close by, and I began working as a trainer there and worked there for 5 years. And I actually would go in early morning and train clients before work, hit my cardio, come to work, go back to work, or go back to the gym and train midday, go back to work, and then go back in the evening to train clients as well as train for my show. So it was definitely a juggling act, but something that I enjoyed doing. So I stayed at Gold's Gym for 5 years, and then after that I actually left and just developed my own personal training business to where I train and coach others to help them reach their fitness goals, be that to lose weight or to get in shape, to reduce their meds that they're taking for diabetes, or like I said, for competition. And I thoroughly enjoy helping others live a healthier lifestyle. I do coach for competitions, though. I draw up their diets. I draw up their training plans. I meet with them on a weekly or monthly basis to help them with posing. I can help them also put together their posing routines. And then I even attend the shows with them as a support system. So I've coached both women and men as well for bodybuilding, figure, bikini, and physique divisions. So as you can see, I do keep pretty busy, but I just enjoy helping others realize their dreams of getting on stage. And like I said, I want to be able to give back to others and help them just like others helped me when I got into the sport.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. So now, are there any other projects that you are working on?
A lot of people may not be aware of is I do some runway modeling and print work. I actually started modeling when I was 16, and again, it was because my self-esteem was low. I was a shy girl when I was in my teen years, and so modeling brought me out of that and what initially got me to the stage. So I did that from the time I was 16, and then when I got into my early 20s, I transitioned into working out and trying to build muscle on my physique, and then, of course, transitioned over to bodybuilding. And so that's when I got on stage to do my first bodybuilding competition, I was never nervous because the runway modeling had actually got me out of my nerves and my shyness. So I've stayed very busy with modeling in local fashion shows and have done some fashion shows and things on TV, our local TV station, and also done some print work as well. I enjoy fashion. I enjoy clothes, so that was good for me to be able to stay in shape for that as well. I'm enjoying my life, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
I know that's right, and you definitely have your hands full, and I'm definitely proud of you. So now, where can they find you on social media?
On social media, on Facebook, I'm under the name Lisa Ham, and then on Instagram, my Instagram name is HamFit.
Well, you heard it from her. She's Lisa Ham. She's a Renaissance woman. She's an athlete. She's an entrepreneur. She's also doing her thing in a model. And Lisa, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Ed. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for having me on.